I am joined by Mr. Stephen Dorff and Chris Conolley, of course, legendary actor and an accomplished mixed martial arts coach, both of you starring in the new movie Embattled, coming out very soon. How are you guys?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You guys hit me with the special link, so I got to see the movie before it comes out. So I feel like I'm sitting in a great position. There's a lot of MMA movies that come out, and I feel like the number one thing is cheese. Like a lot of, I don't know what it is, but it's really hard to capture MMA for whatever reason without it being cheesy. And this movie comes along, and I feel like you guys were able to do that, and it's such a breath of fresh air. It warms my heart, I guess. I'll
Nice,
say.
buddy. Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate it.
So the movie's called Embattled, and like I said, it takes place in the MMA world, and it follows this family who I guess we can say it's dysfunctional, and man, it hits in a lot of ways that you wouldn't expect an MMA movie to hit. So first off, Stephen Dorff, this was your movie, correct? This was your idea, and you sold it to IFC Films.
No, I actually, through a friend of mine, Colleen Camp, who's a producer and was an actor, is an actress too. She knew Nick, our director, and David McKenna, and I read this, got me the script, and said you would be great in this. I read it, and I was like, geez, this is intense. This is incredible, And I dabbled a little bit in the MMA world on movies like Felon, and met some great people along the way over the years, from Cowboy Cerrone to I met Rashad Evans. Obviously, met a lot of great fighters on this and through Chris. But I had worked in New Mexico, so I got to meet all Greg Jackson's team when I was doing that film. I don't know how many years ago, but whenever that was. And I've always been a fan of the sport. I've been to a lot of matches. I've been to a lot of fights. Watched a Cowboy fight a few times too when we met on Felon. And I've always been enamored with the sport and seen how it's grown and become as big as it has. But yeah, no, I didn't. I was pretty much cast in the film and then produced it with the guys. But I didn't get the film right away. Nick kind of gave it to me once. It was announced I was doing True Detective, and that seems to be when the financing and all the whatever boxes were checked. And then I got the call, would you want to make it after True Detective? And I said, yes, I would. And everybody was like, you sure you want to commit to your first thing right after? I said, yeah, I want to make this movie. I want to make this character right after, and then we can take it from there. And that's pretty much what happened. And then Nick, our director, took, longer than most people take to finish the film. But in the end, it was waiting for great technicians, sound designers, people he wanted on this film. And I'm really proud of, I kind of always find flaws in everything that I do, but I don't know, it was hard for me on this movie. I felt like it was really beautifully executed as far as just all the performances, all the supporting cast, the look of the film, the DP crushed it, the editing, the sound design, the last act, which without giving away is, you're basically in this incredible fight scene, but you're telling a story, you're acting while you're doing fight scenes. So it's beyond just the hits and the grappling and the moves. It's like storytelling with silence. It really blew me away. And I've seen the movie now about 4 or 5 times, and it's hard for me to find any faults with it. It's really, and that makes me really happy, because that doesn't happen a lot with me. I'm always shit talking my own shit and pissed off about this, or why didn't they hold that shot longer, or why did we cut that scene, or why did we, but I'm really proud of what we did, and I'm proud of Darren's performance and everybody, and Chris, I couldn't have done it without him. And obviously Chris, when he's on camera, he basically steals all my thunder because he's a damn handsome gentleman. He's in Abu Dhabi right now because he's one of his great fighters is fighting
Walt Harris. Yeah. Walt Harris is fighting Alexander Volkov this Saturday night. Huge fight. Everyone loves Walt Harris. And I'm glad you brought up Walt, because like you were saying with this movie, without giving away the final act, MMA, you can't script it, right? So you want the best narratives, and you see guys going through a lot, and they might not come up the way they want to, or whatever, perform the way they want to. So MMA is so real life in that respects. Well, Chris, let me ask you. You've coached fighters. You're in it. You're in Abu Dhabi. You're a UFC coach. What'd you think of Steven Dorff's technique when you first saw it? And be honest.
Man,
He's right here.
Okay. All right. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? We had to hit the ground running because he just came off True Detective and straight to Birmingham. And we were doing, you know, like a mini fight camp, dude. I mean, it was like 8-hour days, started early in the morning, little break in the afternoon, went on throughout the evening trying to script these, you know, pretty highly technical moves for a guy who's not like a regular grappler jiu-jitsu practitioner. But like the character that he was playing was kind of a gritty, gnarly fight style anyway. You know what I mean? And, you know, like Steven picked it up so fast. It was pretty impressive, dude. I'm not going to lie to you, you know.
I needed that work on the ground though.
Yeah.
I didn't know some of those moves.
I feel like you nailed that though, like the minutia, like little things. I call them Easter eggs, right? Because anytime I see actual techniques being moved or being used in a movie on the big screen, I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's right. And I mean, from like head fighting in the clinch, you know, you need your head under their jaw. You gotta, you know, that's such a little detail that is so easy to get glossed over.
And breath and how much strength that takes too. It's just that,
Yeah.
you know, you're resting in those times, right? You're trying to get that extra breath. You're trying to, I mean, it's
That's
like,
a big,
you know, that's
and
the cool shit. And when you have such a great team, like these guys.
You've done fight scenes before. I mean, Deacon Frost and Blade, like who can never forget that? Like that was epic. And so like you've always been in that kind of world, you know. But man, you are ripped up in this movie. What was that training regimen like to get your body to where you want it to be? To you know, that's a big role. You're playing one of the best fighters on the planet. You know,
Yeah, I mean, tell me about it. I hate
a lot of commitment.
Yeah, I mean, usually, you know, because it's me up there, and because, you know, I'm the first person to, you know, want to be ready, and because had to rush through. I knew that the first thing I had to do, because I based on the other work I've done and over the years, know how to sell a punch. I know how to, you know, take a punch. I know how to give a movie punch. You know, but yeah, to create, you know, the way the footwork moves, to the way the ground movement, I needed that training. But I also kind of put it to the side because I felt like if I could wait to the last minute, I know they're going to be scared on the ground in Birmingham, like Chris, who I'd never met, like, you know, Fernando, our fight choreographer with Chris, like Don Lee, our stunt coordinator. But I needed the 4 weeks or whatever I allowed myself with my physical trainer just to put some size on. Because, you know, I was pretty skinny in True Detective. I, you know, was playing an old man. I was in half of that. I was aging. I wasn't training. So I just started eating right away. And I actually remember kind of not arguing, but with the producer, they said, you got to be here on Monday. You know, we've got a new actor. You've got to be here. You know, and I kept saying, look, I'm going to get there on Saturday. It's going to be okay. But I need to finish this next week of eating and training to just get where my head is at. And then I can get in that thing and I'm all yours with Chris, and I can continue my physical stuff, which is obviously really important to sell it. And by doing all of it, the cardio with Chris for the 7 hours a day, learning the fights, sweating my ass off, mixed with the eating and the training and the regimen I was on, by the time we got into that arena that was ours for that week or whatever we were in there for, to accomplish all this in the beginning of the shoot, I felt like I was ready, you know, and it was just kind of like cliff note, warp speed ahead. And normal, I'd like to have 2.5 months. You know, I would have liked to have carved out for myself to, you know, really learn the fights, get with Chris early, fly out to Birmingham. But in the end, maybe that energy and maybe it felt like it was meant to be, because, you know, Darren had to jump right in, learn what he had to do, that he used that to his own aggression for the part he was playing.
He did a great job, by the way. He killed it.
You know, Cash is a guy that on paper wins a fight in Vegas, gets on his jet, takes a bunch of Molly, and is, you know, banging hookers, and then goes back to his family. I mean, he's out of his mind. So he's, you know, as a champion, he's very smart and he's a badass grappler and he can make it happen, hopefully, most of the time. But he didn't have to be as perfectly trained as somebody like Darren with the jiu-jitsu. And, you know, Cash is saying, fuck judo, you know, fuck this, fuck that. You know, he needs a jab, he needs this, you know. Right. And so in a way, the unorthodox way of the way this worked out, and the location, and having Chris there, and having his team there, and the space, I think it worked out perfectly. And I was able to put on probably 8 to 10 pounds. The camera already gives me more size. So it all kind of, but I was really lucky that I kind of trusted myself to give me those few weeks I needed in LA to do what I needed to do, and then come back and then hit it hard. And then I was able to, I was right. I mean, I knew I'd pick it up faster than somebody that hadn't, been physically active. Cause if you haven't done movie fighting, and if I hadn't done movies like Felon and all these, fight films that I've done over the years, I wouldn't have been able to pick it up that fast. But,
well, like you were saying, your character Cash Boykins, he is over the top. I mean, it's Conor McGregor 10x, and maybe like a little bit of Mike Tyson thrown in there, but maybe a little more vulgar, a little more callous.
Yeah, I had a little Mayweather in there too, as far as flash and just kind of
Money
business,
May. Who all did you draw from to get your inspiration on how you wanted to present this character?
Well, I kind of knew, Nick knew, I knew, based on what was on the page, but we started playing with haircuts. We started playing with, I think I should shave my head. I think I should look kind of like a Conor McGregor. I think I should be. He's from Alabama. He's Southern. He's he parties. I think he's not a guy that shaves and should look like he just stepped out of GQ. And if he did step out of GQ in his Gucci outfit, then he's going to look the way he wants to look, And then I went to the extreme of saying, I want to have some gold teeth, maybe we put that in the story that somebody knocked his teeth out when he was young, and so when he smiles, he has these, 3 gold teeth, or 2. I think I had 2 or 3. Anyway, I had permanently cemented on my mouth, so I wouldn't have any problem with them, and I could put my guard in without, because whenever you put a retainer type thing, it also affects your speech and when you're talking and stuff. So I just had my guy permanently put them on, and wow. I had him for about 3 or 4 months after the movie wrapped, and I started getting used to him, and then I had to take him out to go to work. But yeah, no, we just started kind of building this guy, and I put the teeth in and didn't even tell Nick about it. And then I smiled and sent him a picture, and I actually shaved my head. Kind of on the sides and all around the back. I sent him a picture, and he's like, wow, yeah. And then I showed him some progress, and he got kind of pumped. And this is my director. And then I when I got out there, my beard had grown really long. It was the longest I'd ever had a beard. So he was like, you should keep it. And I was like, really? And I said, yeah, you should keep it. And I said, yeah, I've never really done a part with the full beard. And we just kind of built the look from, my first costume fitting. It was a budget issue, and the costumes tended to look like the nice lady in wardrobe went to the mall or whatever and bought whatever she thought Cash would be crazy enough for Cash to wear. And I said, no, this guy's a label whore. This guy is as flashy and over the top obnoxious as you get. Not that he really cares, but he's going to spend it. And if it means that the Rolex is $400,000, he's going to buy it. This is a guy you can't chintz on. So here's how we do it, and we don't have, $5 million to spend on his wardrobe. Okay, great. Well, we can get the fake shit, really good shit from LA. I can get this and get that, and get this. And we just built it. And, by then we had a couple weeks because we were starting with the fights anyway, where I'm not in much clothes. And then we built it from there. And, but it was a collaboration, but also really Nick just letting me kind of go on my instincts. And then I started to feel this guy and started to act like the guy, and then made the movie, so. Yeah.
And I mean, so Cash, he is definitely an abrasive character. He, I would go to say he's toxic. He's a toxic character, maybe because of his upbringing and the way he was raised. And he's kind of repeating the cycle with his own children, Jet, the older son. And disowning, there's a special needs kids also who's present that Cash completely disowns to make you hate him even more, as if it wasn't easy enough. So ultimately, it boils down to this giant showcase, Boykins versus Boykins, right? Father versus son. And that's a tough one, right? It's like a car crash. You don't want to look, but like you can't help yourself. And I've seen in the sport, I've seen pupil versus teacher. Eduardo Dantas knocked out Marcos Galvão and instantly burst into tears, sobbing because of what he just did. I've seen Carlos Fodor and Ben Fodor, brother versus brother, and that made me feel icky also. So this is father versus son, but it's also pupil versus student, that kind of dynamic. What do you think it is, Stephen, about human beings that kind of make us gravitate this sort of drama, even though it makes us feel weird, we still have to see it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really cool question, and that's a lot what the movie is. I mean, Cash is a hard part for me to play because there's not much redeemable about him. Yeah, he's funny at times. He's got his charisma. He's not a dumb guy. He's very smart when it comes to the unions and looking out for the other fighters and the health insurance and the wages and having ownership in the brand. And he seems like a very good businessman, but he is stuck in this very old school way of I'm not giving you money. You're going to be a man. You're going to fight, and I'm going to make you bleed and be broke and hungry until you become a man, and then one day you could then be rich and live your life. You son of a bitch. He's just this fucking maniac, and to go into that, I just had to become someone else, and it was hard, to the point where I didn't really like who I was when I was making the movie sometimes, but at the same time, I had to do that to commit fully. And hopefully that's why you didn't feel that cheese factor in watching it. Because I can't stand if I see something that I'm trying to tackle and it's not done accurately. It's embarrassing for me, man. I'd rather stay home or do something else. I want to do the world I'm always playing justice. Whether I'm doing a prison movie, I want to work with the guards that were there. I want to know what happened here. I want to ask questions. I want to ask Chris, are my hands taped right? This seems weird. Yeah, that's right, but this should be like this. And having Chris there, not only he's acting, which he hasn't done before, but he's also being an incredible tech consultant as far as, what would I do in the corner here? What would I do then when I'm in the corner for Jed in that fight? But, I mean, yeah, as far as the world, I think, yeah, it's one of those things where you feel incredibly awkward watching what goes down without giving away what happens in this film. At the same time, you're fascinated by it. And I think it always read to me like a great twist. I've seen films that have been done in this world, not necessarily some of the bad ones, but I thought Warrior was pretty solid back in the day. The sport obviously has evolved incredibly since then. And I think our movie is a better film than that film. That was dealing with brothers, if I remember correctly. But it was well done. I liked it. It was entertaining. And there hasn't really been a great, MMA film in a while. That, there's been, good documentaries and stuff, but I know they're doing some other ones after we made ours. They're doing the life story of that other cool fighter, Chris, where he started in his backyard. I forget.
Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, I know they're doing a film on that guy's life, which is really interesting. I know there's been talk. I think there's a female version where Halle Berry's playing kind of a Ronda Rousey type that just sold for a bunch of money to Netflix, I think. And and there's our movie that'll be hitting first. And I just think it's time to tell some good stories with the backdrop of arguably the biggest sport around. It's totally wiped out boxing. I mean, I used to be a major boxing fan.
Yeah.
Sure, it's fun to go watch. Tyson Fury fight here and there, but there's no boxing fights. There's no fights. Whereas MMA, you get something every. Chris is there right now for another one. So
it is constant. And yeah, so there is a moment trying to set up this Boykins versus Boykins. Cash, he is a smart businessman, and he goes into the bosses knowing he's probably the only one with enough leverage to not get completely blackballed for bringing up pension and insurance and fighter pay. Let's be honest, a fighters union is the elephant in the room of MMA. And for me to see that on the big screen is really huge. And I'm so grateful that it's up there. Who made it a point? Was it Chris? Is this you? Did you put this up there?
Hell no, bro.
I was in the script. That was David McKenna. McKenna really is such a great writer. He wrote Blow, American History X, some of my favorite films, and he just the world was in the script, and it just felt very real. And then by working with these guys, they said how real it is.
It felt ballsy, to be quite honest, because it is an ongoing issue and it's a touchy subject. And when you speak to the UFC about it, you better be ready for some kickback.
I'm sure.
It was nice seeing that. Another Easter eggs. I mean, Tyron Woodley, Kenny Florian, the fact that the referee deducted a point for a cage grab. I love seeing things like that. I hope this isn't a spoiler, but there is this spinning elbow Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever seen a technique captured so perfectly in a movie in all of my life. I mean, just the way Cash is setting it up, and you can just see the way he recognizes it and the way it's filmed.
The split on Darren's head. Yeah, that's
Oh,
a great.
so it was so just perfectly done. And like, that's real stuff. Like, I see it all the time, and it's increasing. Brian Ortega just hit a sweet spinning back elbow and dropped Korean Zombie last weekend. Like,
Wow.
it's great to see. Chris, was how much did you have in terms of what moves were being actually displayed? How much of that was on you?
A lot. All the fight scenes, we talked about it, laid it out. It also helps that Fernando trains jiu-jitsu as well, and he's a martial artist, Fernando Chin, and he had a lot to do about it as well. The thing that I thought was cool was the fact that we're telling a story throughout the course of the fight. So the techniques and all the moves that we're doing kind of have to help tell the story as well. But the spinning elbow was absolutely me, bro. That was mine. That was my move. I love that one. And Steven nailed it. It was good. So we tried to put real moves in the movie because we want it to look authentic. And like Steven said, you know, we don't want to embarrass ourselves going out there. And I don't want to be embarrassed at what I'm looking at. And I think we pulled it off, man. I mean, there's a lot of fight scenes, and that we only had a limited amount of time to do those things. So we were shooting all day long. It was tough, but it was good, man. We tried to make it as authentic as possible, put actual techniques, actual jiu-jitsu moves, good takedowns, and some fancy shit on top of it.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Tyron and Kenny would be like sitting in their spots as the announcers, you know, doing the more Joe Rogan type thing in the picture, and Kenny and Tyron would be like, damn, man, that's exhausting. We do this thing for 5-minute rounds, 3 rounds, but we're doing this all day, you
all
know.
Day. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm like, movie making's a pain in the ass.
That's the truth.
It's fun when it's done.
I got to thank you guys for taking out the time. I won't take up too much more of it. But real quick, when does this movie officially come out, and how can everyone see it?
As far as I know, Danielle, you're there too, right? But I think November 20th is the hard date, and I think it's, you know, available for in theaters in certain cities where the theaters are open. Maybe some drive-ins, and also, you know, in your house, so you can pay-per-view. I'm sure on Apple, on all iTunes, on all the, like, they can get you all that though when we hang up, because I want to get them to give you the more accurate spots. But that's something I should probably know. Heyo.
Well, it's a very fluid time, right? I mean,
November 20th though is the date.
November 20th. Well, the movie's Embattled. It moved me, and that's not something easy to do. I'm old and bitter and disgruntled when it comes to martial arts and movies, and it was really refreshing to see this shot and executed the way it was. So thank both of you for that. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Eddie. Spread the word, buddy. Spread the word.
Absolutely. I can't wait to it comes out officially so I can see it with other people and see their reactions and everything. But best luck to both of you in your future endeavors.
Thanks, man. Be safe out there.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Eddie.